Hello everyone, today I want to compare the patch 2.8 limited banner characters Kazuha, Klee and Yoimiya in terms of playstyle and performance in endgame content, as well as their accessibility, meaning how flexible they are in terms of weapon choices, artifacts and team compositions. This will hopefully help you decide which banner to go for, and of course this video will also be somewhat subjective since it's mostly based on my own experiences. With that being said, let's get started. First, Kazuha. Unfortunately, I don't have him yet, so I guess I'll just show some Sucrose gameplay. In terms of playstyle, they are kind of similar. Kazuha is a support, you just press his skills and you are done on this character. He deals a decent amount of damage, but the main thing that distinguishes him from other characters is his ability to increase your team's elemental damage. On top of that, he is an Anemo character, so he can wear the Viridescent set to decrease resistances, and he has a way to suck in enemies to group them up. Overall, he is super flexible, and he can be played in pretty much any team that mainly deals Pyro, Hydro, Electro or Cryo damage. He's also not too hard to build. As for weapons, you can use the Iron Sting, which is craftable, and for artifact sets, it's just the usual 4-piece Viridescent set. When it comes to stats, a lot of people like to build him on as much elemental mastery as they can get, since his elemental damage buff scales of it. I'm not gonna lie, getting 3 times elemental mastery main stat with nice substats on it on a 4-piece set is kind of painful, but there are also some who just build him on a regular sub DPS build, so kind of a balance of all the damage stats. I think Kazuha works just fine like that, but I guess in the long run you probably want to transition to the EM focused build. So it's definitely a long grind for artifacts, I'm not gonna lie. Next we have Klee, and this is rough. She is one of the oldest characters. She was released in patch 1.0, so of course the devs had a certain idea for their combat system, but they obviously had no way of telling where the community will take the meta. And as a product of that, Klee's skill kit ended up with a lot of internal anti-synergy. She has a very strong charged attack, which also gets empowered by her passive skill, which suggests a melt or vaporize team, but then her elemental burst skill has a lot of random pyro application passively, which makes it kind of hard to set up these elemental reactions. Of course, looking at this burst skill, you could say this sounds really nice for an overload team, which is true, but then you wouldn't make the best use of her charged attacks. So however you play her, it feels like some potential will always be left behind. Aside from this, when you pick her up for the first time, her normal attacks might feel a little clunky and slow, but I'd say that's definitely something you can get used to. As for the build, this gets really easy though. Just a regular damage build, any damage catalyst with good base attack and crit rate, crit damage, or even attack percentage. So for example, the Wit Sith is a great option. As for artifacts, you can use the 4-piece Wanderer's Troop set, or if you have, you can even use the 4-piece Crimson Witch set. As for stats, prioritize the usual damage stats, crit rate, crit damage, pyro damage bonus, elemental mastery, or attack percentage. And last, let's have a look at Yoimiya. Kind of similar to Klee, she is a Pyro main DPS who is said to have some problems with her skill kit. Unfortunately, she is also one of the 3 characters I don't have yet, so I'm not super familiar with her, but as far as I can tell, whatever problem she has, it shouldn't be too bad. Same as Klee, she does have high Pyro application, she attacks really fast, and her elemental burst skill leaves a mark behind on your target, which will trigger Pyro damage when your other characters attack. So basically, it seems to have a lot of synergy with off-field damage, like Jingshou's elemental burst skill for example. So you can play her with any sub DPS who deals Hydro, Cryo or Electro damage while off-field, and characters who increase normal attack damage. One thing that stood out to me while looking at Yoimiya's skill kit is her elemental skill, which infuses her normal attacks with Pyro, has 8 seconds downtime, which is kind of a lot. So rotations are probably fairly important in her teams to make sure your other characters' cooldowns line up with this to bridge their time. As for the build, it's literally the same stat line as Klee, just focus on crit rate, crit damage, a pyro damage bonus, elemental mastery, and attack percentage. As for the weapon, she mainly deals normal attack damage, so Rust is actually a great choice on her. If you don't have it, Hammer Yumi is also good and easy to get by crafting. As for the sets, of course we want more normal attack damage. This is actually a good character which can use the 4-piece Shimenawa set. But if you don't like the energy drain, you could also just play double 2 set, like 2-piece Crimson Witch, 2-piece Wanderer's Troop, or 2-piece Gladiator, for example, just anything with extra stats. Alright, that covers all the characters, and if you want my opinion, I think this patch, it's super easy. It's Kazuha all the way. He isn't too bad on the build, like I said, you can start off with a regular sub DPS build and transition to an elemental mastery focused build whenever you're ready. The big thing though is his utility makes him super flexible in terms of team compositions. The only characters he doesn't synergize with are Geo characters and Zhao. To be fair, we know now that Dendro characters are coming, and as far as I know, we don't know of any elemental reactions with Anemo yet. But the other 4 elements left are pretty much unconditionally great with Kazuha. Next, I think Yoimiya has definitely a higher priority than Klee. Since they pretty much do the same, I just compare them here. Yoimiya is super easy to use, just spam normal attacks, that's pretty much all there is to it. With Klee, you definitely need some time to get used to playing her, whether it's her clunky normal attack chain, her energy management, or her movement. Using a lot of jump cancels makes her a lot better. So if you really wanted to, you could also interpret this as Klee has a higher skill ceiling, but let's be honest, who cares about that in a casual game? In terms of team compositions, they are kind of similar, and it's sad that both of their skill kits have some problems. But I feel like it's a little worse for Klee, since her problem is being a kind of inconsistent charged attack unit. So you can end up doing 100,000 damage or 30k damage depending on your elemental reaction order, which is obviously a noticeable difference. Alright, we made it to the end. Again, I think Kazuha is the big winner of this patch. Everything else can honestly be skipped. Don't get me wrong though, if you really like Yoimiya or Klee, you can definitely make them work. Like, I myself definitely plan to wish for Yoimiya, but if you want the strongest Pyro main DPS, I think most people would definitely point you towards Hu Tao. Anyway, that's it. Stay tuned for more videos. Until then, have fun and bye bye.